Welcome to the Traveling Professors. I'm Professor Bob.
And I'm Professor Sheri.
And together we are
the Traveling Professors.
Today's show we are going to be taking a walking tour of Nimes, and we're going to finish up the Roman water system that I've been doing in the last couple of shows, where we went to Uzes and where we went to the Pont de Gard. So in the picture here you see the original fountain where the water for the city of Nimes came from. Then there's one of the sites that we'll see, which is the Maison Carrie, and then next to that is the picture that we're needing to finish up the Roman water system, which is the Castellum, which is where the water from Uzes coming across the Pont de Gard comes in the city of Nimes and then is distributed. As a refresher, here is the map that I was using on the last two shows when we went to Uzes and the Pont de Gard. So the water that the Romans brought to Nimes, of course, started up here with the fountain of Uzes. And then you see the route that it traveled to the Pont de Gard, and then from the Pont de Gard down to where Nimes is located, to be added to a water system that was already there. The Romans just believed that the fountain of Nimes wasn't sufficient anymore. So here is the picture of the original fountain of Uzes, where the water started. And here is our Pont de Gard that we had seen in the previous show. And here we have the map of the city. You see the green area up here. This is where the original spring that provided the water for the city of Nimes came from. And of course this is the modern city. But there's two sites that we're concerned with from the water system. One is right here in this garden area. And the other one is this spot right here, which is the spot where the water from the aqueduct comes in to Nimes and then is distributed through the rest of the city. Now a close-up of this garden area. In ancient times it was a gigantic nymphium, but where the temple is, right up here, is where the fountain, where the spring came out, and it's a park now. I would point out you're going to see this fountain with two different colors of water. Initially, you're going to see it brackish brown because we visited this on the day we went to the Pont de Gard and to visit Uzes. Well, we had that massive storm the night before, so everything was muddy. I have pictures of it when we go back the next time when we're staying in Nimes the day of our walk, and it's calmed down significantly. When we arrived in Nimes, we parked right here, which is near the entrance. All of the area which is the water is, of course, part of a large complex that was devoted to the imperial cult. It's actually known as the Augusteum, and the original water source is located right here. Well, at one time, this had a nymphium, a theater, and a building that's now known as the Temple of Diana, which as well as a fountain, which is where the nymphium would have been located. And it's changed quite a bit. But as we entered, here is the one side of the entrance, and you'll see the water. And most of this rock is actually from the old Temple of Diana. And then here's a view going in. You can just barely see the fountain way in the back. And then looking off to the right, here's the rest of the canal. And then we moved on into the center region where we begin to see the water. And this water is coming from the spring. Now, our guide thought that the way they have this system set up now, that there is some water backup that could possibly come in here. But after we got to the original spot, there was no question that the water was coming from this particular location. Here's a little video showing this water in action. Now we come to one of the Roman areas that was just simply reconstructed and repaired at the time. So this would have been the Nymphium Fountain. You can see the water just boiling around it. The fountain, as they call the spring that provides this water, is back behind this off to the left-hand side. But there's a tremendous amount of water going through here, particularly after the heavy rain from the night before. Well, here is La Fontaine, or the fountain. It comes out of that particular area underneath this bluff, and it just boils through here. Here's a little video so you can get an idea of the power that this has. Then back Behind, you see that ruin there. That is the Temple of Diana, which is where we are heading to next. But here's some maps from the Museum of the Romans that show where this is situated. So here is a topographical map. You can see right here is where the spring is coming out of this mountain. Here's a little better view of it, so you can see it lit up. So you can see where it comes in and flows down. And that was the water source for this region. It's the one main reason why the various tribes came in and settled here. And then the Romans come in, take it over, and here is the Roman city. The Romans determined that the increase in size of the city was outstripping the amount of water that the spring was producing. So that's why they brought in water from Uzes, and that comes into this particular spot up here, which is the Castellum. And so then they will have piping that goes through the entire rest of the city. And here's the Temple of Diana. Sheri and I have seen small temples, and it looks very, very, very nice. Unfortunately, this is just a tiny piece of the original building. At one time, it had triple porticos. It had vaulted ceilings. This is all that's left from the stone being taken from this building for other purposes. Unfortunately, the Temple of Diana was badly damaged during the Wars of Religion, and what was left then was used as a source for this new project. This fountain garden, this beautiful area, of course, was then, allowed to kind of collapse. The spring obviously continued functioning. But in 1738, the people in the region decided that they needed more water. And so they were going to build reservoirs. And they decided that they needed to use the excess stone from this building to help build that. They finished it in 1741. They ended up building this beautiful 18th century fountain park, which you saw as we came in. They kept the old pool with its 2 flights of semicircular stairs, which is where I was standing to take pictures down into the pool. And of course, that also meant that the foundation of the Nimes Fountain was left, which was the big square with the fountain figures on the top of it. They reused the rest of it to build this series of water features in the town, which used this Roman stone, which of course gives it an ancient look. Well, of course, after we were at Nimes, we then, of course, went off to Uzes and then went to the Pont Gard. And then the next day, we went to Arles for a couple of days, and after that, we went back to Nimes. Here is the train station at Nimes. It was not as close to our hotel. It was 15 minutes away. Here's where the train station is, down here on the map. And then we went up this beautiful tree-lined promenade and then turned towards the town square. And you can see that in the middle of the town square is the gigantic Colosseum, the arena of Nimes, which of course was built after Arles because the people of Nimes were insulted that Arles had beat them to building one. So they forced the rich people of the city to construct one for them as well. This happens to be the area where the town hall and the police headquarters, so it's a very safe place to wander around. Then going back to the map, we head to our hotel, which was the Arena Hotel. It had its own street, but it was on the back side right here. And so we went in. Here's our hotel. It was very reasonable. I think we paid $110 a night, including breakfast. There's the staircase. There's one of the reception areas. There's the little region where we had breakfast in the morning. Went up, very large room, nice bed, just standard accommodations, nothing fancy. A view out the window, looking across the little 1 or 2 person street. And so that was our hotel for 2 nights. And after we put all of our equipment away, then of course it's time to go and explore the city. So we're going to go and try and find the Castellum. I looked on the map and I was wondering how far it was away, and it calculated to 800 yards. Well, Sheri and I are used to walking a couple of miles, so that was nothing to it. So that's what we're going to plan to do. And in the process, we saw a whole variety of other things. When we left the hotel, our idea was we're going to walk this direction up to the Castellum. Want to see where that water comes in from the Pont du Gard. But along the way, there were some buildings to see. And then we also decided to go back over and see the park with the Temple of Diana. So here is the courtyard that we found with lots of restaurants. We ate there, but this has the famous Alligator Fountain. The Romans built this, and they brought alligators in. That was to show that the Romans had conquered Egypt, and they were to be reckoned with. So we have our good luck fountain here with the crocodile. And then we start heading towards the Castellum. So here's the nice narrow streets, and you see this building we're heading to. This is the north side, the Maison Carrie. Now that name is certainly not the Roman name, but it comes from the 16th century. It's part of a very large Roman forum complex. The sanctuary was dedicated to the grandsons of Augustus, Caius and Lucius Caesar, which are the sons of his daughter Julia and Marcus Agrippa. The temple was inspired by the temple of Apollo in Rome, and it was then later used as the example for the French to build the Church of the Madeleine in Paris. Now it's 26 meters long, 15 meters wide, has a height of 17 meters at its apex. Now they have displays and all sorts of things you can see in there. 26 columns, and they're all Corinthian. So here is the front. There's an interesting story about how they figured out who it was dedicated to, because there on the pediment there aren't any letters, but there are areas where you're supposed to put letters, and people have studied what those spaces would fit, and they came up with Caius and Lucius Caesar. So they were doing this to make Augustus feel good. It is one of the best preserved Gallo-Roman temples in all of France. Its later uses. Now, of course, after the Roman Empire collapses, it was used as a judiciary building. And then in 1198, it was a town hall. And then it was privately owned from 1540 to 1670, and at one point, instead of being a house, it was turned into a barn. Then in 1670, it was a convent church. 1789, it became known as a national asset, which was then bought by the local government. In 1802, it was a department archive. And then they began restoring it from 1816 to 1822. When it was completed in 1823, it became an archaeological museum. So it is spectacular. So it's right along the way. And then after we go by that, we go about another block, and here is the famous Roman Museum that you'll be getting a tour of eventually. As just tremendous amount of Roman artifacts from the city in the excavation, and really great interactive displays. So you're saying, now where are we? Okay, well, we're right here now. This is the spot where we are, and we're now going to head up towards the Castellum, which is not that gigantic. You would think it would be a little easier to find. Here on the Roman map is the Castellum right here, and you see the walls of the city, and then here's the central square region. So we walk around a little bit till we finally find it. Now, I'd seen this on a Rick Steves show where he is in Nimes, and he got to stand in there, but it was locked. They don't let the average schmuck get into this area. But there aren't very many of them. This is a circular tank that is a large rectangle. It's the entrance for the aqueduct water from the Pont du Gard, which means it comes all the way from the spring of Uzes, and it comes in right here. Now, they have valves, or had valves, on this so that you could turn it off, and there's a variety of things you could do. And you see all of these other holes. Now, here's a little closer view of it. There are multiple circular openings at the bottom of the tank. Now, at the bottom of the tank, this would allow you to drain it so that you could clean it. And in the process of draining the tank, it flushes the sewer system in the city. And then there's different holes at different levels. So in times of drought, when the water level is low, it only provides water for the most important areas of the city. And it usually goes fountains first, thermal baths second, public services third, and then if there's plenty of water, then it is piped to wealthy homes in the region. And this provided 125,000 cubic meters of water per day. And then this would be in addition to the fountain, La Fontaine, the other spring source in the city. And there are very few of these that survive. This was actually discovered in 1844. And it's very small. It's not very big around. It's about 6 meters in diameter, and it's only 1.5 meters deep. When we finished here, we decided then, well, we're not very far away from two things. One is the fountain area, and the other one is the Tour Magna, or the Great Tower. Now, that's very much uphill in this area. Where we were is at the very bottom, and we were at our hotel in the amphitheater. That's in the bottom of Nimes. And I'd seen where they'd had some rain, heavy rains, and it had flooded. But our guide said that, Nimes floods all the time because it's way at the bottom of everything. So we're got a significant walk to go up here to visit them. So we came over and then began walking up this direction on the map until we finally got to the top. And it's a beautiful park. You saw how pretty the lower region was when we were there a couple of days before. But this is a beautiful park up here. So here we are marching up the walkway. And you can see the Tour Magna. And here it comes into a little better view with the trees through it. A group of early elementary school kids, their classes there. And they're running around. They're doing races and whatever. And then they give them a break. And then they do some more racing. So here is the Tour Magna. Now, it's part of the defensive structure that the Romans built for the city of Nimes, but it's at its exact highest point. And some people think it could be a trophy, which is basically a symbol of strength of the colony, which would dominate the area. So in other words, anybody coming to attack the city of Nimes would see this and go, oh my God, they can afford to have something like that? We better leave it alone. Now, it's pretty impressive, as you see here, but it's a lot bigger than in ancient times. It was another story. The foundation down here is 12.8 meters deep. The tower itself now is then 32.7 meters up from the base. And originally, it was, like I said before, it was 3 instead of 2. So we wandered around and go, well, can you go up there? Well, you can. So we entered, and here's the view from the inside. Now, this wasn't necessarily there from the ancient times. This was added when they restored it and kept it from collapsing further. And then something happened that has never happened to Sheri and I in all of our travels. It costs a couple of euros to walk up. Neither one of us had bothered to bring any money with us on this walk. I didn't even have a credit card, neither did Sheri. It's just really unusual for that to happen. I didn't even have money hidden in my zipper sock. So all we could do is take this picture and go, wow, I wonder what the view was like from up there. It is one of the best views of the city. I was not going to go to the top. Sheri was going to go up. I did not have a good time with my heights. I have little height issues, and normally I can get over it, but we hadn't traveled for almost 2 years, and so I was a little leery. Sheri will go up anything. So the best we could do for a view is there's the view back down into the center of the city of Nimes. You can only imagine what a nice view you would have had from up above. And then we've got to go back down. So here's the group of elementary kids. And we walk down one of the methods. You actually drive up there if you've got a small enough car, but hopefully no one will come the other direction. There's a lot of wealthy homes along here. And we ended up back down at the fountain park. So here's one of the fountains in the modern section that was built. And you can see that the water has cleared up since that rainy day. And then that evening, Sheri and I went back to one of the restaurants down here, and we actually ate there the 3 nights we were in Nimes. And the food was just stunning. Sheri had this gigantic salad, and I had, of course, a nice piece of steak with the trimmings along here and a nice glass of wine. But that at least allows us to finish the Roman water system. Sheri and I hope you enjoyed the tour. Please come by our YouTube channel at Bob Packett, and please subscribe and leave some comments. Thank you very much. I've been doing podcasting on history for over 15 years. I've got over 4,000 shows, and I've done CDs, which of course can be sent out as USBs. So if you would really like to get more on history for free, then come by my website, as you see here, historyaccordingtobob.com, and see what's there. So thank you very much again.